What's up, guys? This is your boy Benjamin from DailyRotoSharks.com. I'm here with Josh at the Chauvin One on Twitter from RotoCurve.com. Everyone say what up to Josh.
What's up, guys? What's up, Ben? How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Glad to have you here. Monday nights are our thing now. Jeremy actually had to cancel right before the show because I know he doesn't mind me telling you this, but he got an adopted dog, and the dog, when he went out to the movies, the dog shit all over the house, everywhere, and he said he's been spending the last hour cleaning it up, and he's gonna keep going to get it all out. So that's what Jeremy's doing right now as we're talking some baseball.
That sounds terrible. That's why if I got a dog and I did that, I would just shoot it.
It's not ideal by any means, but so we're going to be talking about the Tuesday slate. It's a big slate. I'm not really sure if we're gonna go into detail on every game, but we're gonna do our best to talk about as much as we can, go into detail, and the ones we're fading, we're not talking about, and the ones that we're going to be looking at, we're going to go into a little bit of detail. You ready, Josh?
I am ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready, baby. And the first game leading off is, of course, my Cleveland boys. The thing is, it's only on the all-day slate, the 6:10, so I'll just run over it briefly. We have Trevor Bauer favored going against Sonny Gray and the Oakland A's. You know me with Cleveland. I always pick the pitchers. I use the batters. I don't stack against them. I don't do anything. So for me, it's pretty one-sided whenever they play. So how exactly would you approach this game if you were doing the all-day slate?
Can you repeat what you just said? You cut out there at the end.
How would you approach this game if you were doing the all-day slate, knowing that Cleveland is the favorite going against Sonny Gray? Sonny Gray used to be a much better pitcher and prospect than he's really proved to be over the last couple of years. What do you think you would do with this matchup if you were playing the all-day slate?
I never really do all-day slates, and if I do, I usually fade, the one game, because the only reason people are going to play this all-day slate is to jump on the Indian, jump on someone who's in this game, right? But I know that Sonny looked really good his last start or two. They're saying Sonny Gray could be the top name on the trade market. I know you love your Indians. They come through in the oddest spots too, man. It would just make sense for you to just do at least one team with an Indian stack every night, because when they go off, they go off. But I'm a believer in Sonny Gray. Like I said, looked nice. Has looked nice at times this year. He seems to be trending upward. Certainly as a trade piece for them. I won't be playing the all-day slate, and even if I was, I wouldn't have a ton from this game.
All right, so that makes it easy. Let's move on to the Dodgers versus Cardinal games. It's essentially a pick-em. We have Kenta Maeda versus Michael Wacha. They've both been pretty good this year. Maeda's usually on a little bit of a pitch count, but we did see him go 8 innings against the Pirates a couple games ago. We have Michael Wacha, who is primarily a contact pitcher. He's not a huge strikeout guy, but he does go about 6 innings every game. This is a game that I think that you can see some runs. You have the total a little over 8.5, and it looks like both sides should possibly be in play. Do you like anyone from this game?
This is a weird game for me. I'd like to hear what you think about it, Ben, but I know that Kenta drives me crazy. He has great stuff, but I think that Dave Roberts is one of the worst managers in baseball. All right, Ben, I'm so glad that Dave Roberts treats his starters like 15-year-olds with, arms that aren't even growing all the way out yet, and takes them out of the game at like 82 pitches. He did it with Julio Urias. He's done it with Kenta Maeda. He did it with Rich Hill in the middle of a no-hitter. He's going to take the guy out.
He always does that
to save their arms so that they could still lose in the first round of the playoffs. I don't have much on this game other than I hate Dave Roberts, and I don't know. What do you think about Dave Roberts?
I think that
no other manager in baseball does that.
No, it's crazy.
No other
Like,
manager in
it doesn't
baseball.
matter how good the spot of the pitcher that he's in or how well he's doing. They're going to get yanked at around 80,
You
85
can't
pitches.
play Dodgers unless they're Clayton Kershaw. I mean,
Yeah, I mean you can if you're going to see the value at 8,900 going against a Cardinals team that, I mean, they're not terrible, but they do take a lot of pitches at the plate. You have some guys who can hit righties pretty well. So for me, I'm not really on Maeda, like you said. Kind of scared about the pitch counts. He rarely ever gets above 5 innings.
and he's the sixth most expensive pitcher.
He did show some upside a couple times though. 44 against the Pirates and 49 FanDuel points against the Phillies. Um, Both of those games were at home, so he's traveling to St. Louis, so it may be a little bit of a different effect for him. But I mean, you got Fowler, you have Carpenter. I think both of those guys are in play, but I'm not going to be too heavy on them just because Maeda is a capable pitcher. And same thing on the other side. This isn't really a game where I'm going to be stacking the bats or using the pitchers. The Dodgers, they have some guys who can hit some out. We're pretty high on Bellinger. Obviously, he's been playing well. Corey Seager. What do you think about Corey Seager? Do you think that he's due for a bounce back? He's only hit double-digit FanDuel points once in his last 7 games.
Like all year.
Do you think he's due for positive regression?
I'm not the biggest Corey Seager guy in the world. I mean, I know obviously for me, Corey Seager is above average in just about everything. He's got a great glove. He can put the ball in play. He's got a little bit of power. But if he wasn't playing for the Dodgers, if he was on like the Padres or the Athletics, I think you'd have a lot less Corey Seager fanboys. I think I don't. As far as elite shortstops in this game, I wouldn't put Seager in the same tier as like Xander Bogaerts and Lindor.
The ownership is always there for him. There's always people on him, and so the reason why is just because you're seeing this guy every day get 3, 6, 9. Like this isn't even great for cash games, even though you just want some points there. Like and the ownership is always high on him. So for me, GPP wise, I've actually been leaving him out of my stacks whenever I go Dodgers, just because there's other bats there that I feel that you can get more value and pop from, like Grandal or Utley or Bellinger.
And Ben, you do a lot of those late slates, bro. And so you're saying even then, when you only have like 4 teams to choose from, you're still ducking Seager.
Yeah, like it's a 7 o'clock game, so it's a lot different. But yeah, when you have those,
I'm just saying, like in the past,
sure.
See, Corey Seager's got to be like 40% owned on those 4-game slates when the Dodgers are in them, right?
Yeah, and I usually don't go with them. So is there anyone, you play one lineup per day basically? Is there anyone from this game that catches your eye?
I've been playing more like 2 or 3 lately. I got tired of there was 2 or 3 days in a row where I had a guy as like my number 2 shortstop or my number 4 or 5 outfielder, and I'm telling everyone in RotoCurve to play him, but with my one lineup he didn't make it, and I'm like, okay, F that. I gotta start getting my guys. So I still have a very small player pool, but I've been running more like 2 or 3 lineups. But anyway, it's still a small player pool. No, I think you nailed on the head. You have 2 above average pitchers, and so you don't really want to play these pitchers, but you don't really want to load up on hitters against them. So,
right. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to the Baltimore Yankees game. So Yankees, they're my team coming from New York. They're favorite tomorrow with Severino pitching. He's been pitching like the ace that we've needed. Him and Tanaka are starting to form a nice little 1-2 punch there, and we know Baltimore strikes out at a high clip against righties, especially righties who have really good ball movement like he does. There's only a couple people to even be afraid of on that team if you're looking at Severino as a pitcher, and Seth Smith and Chris Davis. Chris Davis can hit one out for you, but he'll also K a couple of times. So we have Severino. He pitches, 98 mile per hour four seam and a 88 mile per hour slider. You have Chris Tillman on the other side. He only pitches a 90 mile per hour fastball. So there's a stark difference in this game from both sides. So for me, you know where I would be all over these Yankees bats. But is there anything in play for you? You know, would you go Baltimore stacking at Severino? Would you pick a couple guys from the Yankees, or would you stack them? How are you approaching this game?
I think that the Yankees are going to be a streaky team all year, and I don't think you have to be a baseball genius to kind of figure out. I was just ranting about Dave Roberts, just so you guys know that I'm not all gloom and grumpiness. I love Joe Girardi, and I'm not a Yankees fan, but I think that Joe Girardi is one of the best managers in baseball. He's somehow managed to get these really young guys like Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez and Greg Bird, and then some pretty crusty old guys, right? Like Matt Holliday and Brett Gardner and Jacoby Ellsbury. Is there a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Is there a more bipolar pitching staff than the one that the Yankees have? I mean, talk about risk and reward. All 5 guys can go out on any night and pitch a gem or get chased in the second inning. I mean,
yeah, and it's not even really a ballpark thing, you know, because Yankees is a notorious hitters park. But
sure.
it's these guys, you know, they some days they just don't have it. They're very Jekyll and Hyde as a starting pitching staff. You know, we have some good bullpen, we have some good long relievers, but when it comes to the starters, you know, you never really know what you're going to get.
The potential is there.
Severino at 9,200.
I will not. And I like Severino. I had Severino. I got to watch him rip up the Kansas City Royals. I would play you against the Kansas City Royals, Ben. That's how bad I think this Royals team is. But I saw my guy Jose Barrios, who was on a tear, go into this Baltimore ballpark and get beat up a little bit. He still is decent, but we're looking at Severino, 4th most expensive guy on the slate. As of now, I'm not loving him. His price has come up since he faced the Royals last week, and I even thought that was a little bit expensive. I won't have Baltimore, but this isn't my favorite Severino spot just because this is still a dangerous Baltimore team. It's a dangerous park. I am somewhat interested in these Yankees, though. Look at Chris Tillman's. He hasn't been good. He gave up 4 runs. He gave up 3 runs. He gave up 3 runs. I think this Yankees stack is very much in play, and they seem to be heating up. Judge knocked out a grand slam. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
And hit one today, I think. So,
yeah. All right. I got a little. I think the last 2 times that we've been on together, I've got some home run regression pitchers for us, and they've done well so far. So I think one of them right now is Chris Tillman. He's 0 home runs on the year. He's done better versus lefties than he has against righties, which is a little surprising to me. But he hasn't been striking anybody out really. So I think that just looking at these numbers, he's been getting hit harder by righties and a higher fly ball percentage by righties. So I think he's due for some potential home run regression tomorrow facing the righties. And we know that there is some power there on that side. You have Holiday, you have Castro, you have Judge, and Sanchez. So I think with everybody on the Yankees, I think they'll probably be looking to stack the lefties, and I think it could be a little bit sneakier in GVPs to go with the righties.
I completely agree. I think that I've never been a big Chris Tillman fan, and now he has not been good this year, especially in that hitter's ballpark. I'd be very bullish on the Yankees as a whole tomorrow.
Yeah, and versus lefties, he's had an 8.31 walks per 9 this season. So, I mean, they probably will be getting on base, but if you're looking for the home runs, I think we'll see it from the righties tomorrow.
Gardner a lefty or a switch, Ben?
A lefty.
He's a straight lefty. I'd have a lot of interest in Gardner then, because he's, especially for cash games, if you know that he's getting on base.
Right.
It seems like I would have to pull up some data to quantify this, but I know that several times this season I've played Gardner in games where he faces a pitcher who gives up a lot of walks or is easy to run on, and he ends up getting on base, stealing 1 or 2, and then hits a home run later in the game, and just has a monster game. So he seems to not only steal bases in those matchups, but also hit well too. So
Well, if I could just say one thing about Gardner, and I love Gardner, and I usually pick him for steal upside, but something just caught my eye. Facing Chris Tillman in his career, he has 48 plate attempts, 0 stolen bases, and 1 caught stealing. So I think that's a little interesting. I don't know how much we should read into it, but that's a pretty large sample size.
Gardner's been mashing though, and if Tillman's going to have this home run regression that you're talking about, I'd say
I'm
that.
talking about steal wise. I
No,
don't.
I know. I'm saying that he doesn't even have to get a steal if he
Right.
puts one out.
Yeah, man. No, I love him. I'm just saying it's just interesting to point out 48 plate attempts. He's never stolen a base on him. Maybe tomorrow's the day. We'll see.
There's always your first, right?
It's always your first. So let's go into this Arizona-Pittsburgh game. We're looking at a nice day in Pittsburgh, looking at 71 degrees. It's the highest temperature so far. It's also the biggest pitcher's ballpark so far. Lowest total that we've seen from Vegas. And we're looking at a pretty decent pitchers matchup. Robbie Ray versus Ivan Nova. You have a lefty versus a righty. People have been on this Arizona team all year, mostly at home, but even away, they've done pretty well. We know that you love them, and last time they put up like 8 runs in 1 inning or something like that. It's something crazy.
Snowman.
So are you still the Arizona whisperer even when they're not at home? What do you think about this matchup versus Nova?
I don't know if I'm really the Arizona whisperer. I saw something on Twitter on the game that we were on them last week. It still worked out. So they beat up Dylan Covey for like 5 runs, and then Jake Lamb blasted a 3-run homer, and all of a sudden Covey was hurt. He's like, my butt, it just got kicked, and now so I was like, oh, you pussy, dude. So he gets his butt kicked and then decides he's gonna act like, I don't know. He actually could have been hurt, but it seemed pretty suspect. That I've never seen a pitcher do that. Like, get as soon as the guy hits a home run, be like, I'm hurt. So the White Sox actually quietly have a really good bullpen this year. So they put a pretty good long reliever in, and I think the Diamondbacks still ended up scoring 6 runs on the day. But if Covey wouldn't have been a baby and come out of the game, it would have been better. But Robbie Ray, second most expensive pitcher on the board, right? Behind Chris Sale. I like Ray. I like Ray, especially away from Arizona. Man, this team, if they can get like one more arm, they've got Robbie Ray, Greinke. This Zach Godley kid's pretty good. Godley threw a gem against the Brewers on Friday. Taijuan Walker is decent. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable with Taijuan Walker as my 4th starter in the playoffs. But Ben, if they can pick up like a Sonny Gray or something for their 4th arm with this offense, look out. But anyway, that's down the road.
So do you like Robbie Ray as a pitcher? Do you like any of the bats in this game? What do you think?
Most of this game's going to be a fade for me, Ben. Most of it's going to be a fade for me. The Pirates are heating up a little bit. Andrew McCutchen hit a home run today against this Arizona team. So right now, I'm not crazy about Ray, second most expensive pitcher on the board. I may have a little bit of interest in these Arizona bats. Ivan Nova never has a massively good game. At least he hasn't for the past couple of months. He never really gets rocked either. He did give up 4 over 8 innings in Atlanta last start. And I like this Arizona team. There's just teams that I like more, so we can move on.
All right, yeah, I like Robbie Ray. He's interesting as a pitcher. He's been pretty good against the home run this year. He has an xFIP of 3.76 with an ERA of 3, K percentage of 29.8, and pitches around 6 innings per game. I definitely think he's an option as a pitcher tomorrow, and I won't be using any of the Arizona bats except potentially Jake Lamb, but I think even his ownership on just a random day will be a little higher than I want it to be. So for me, it's Robbie Ray and basically move on in this game. unless you see like a Gregor Blanco at leadoff at like if he's really cheap again, or Fuentes, that guy. But besides
Yeah,
that,
do they still have him at like 2,400 or something ridiculous?
if he's
Or
still
is his
super
price?
cheap, Fuentes, and he's leadoff, then I could see it. But besides that, it's mostly this game's a
But
favorite.
mostly, yeah, no, I hear you. They messed around with Fuentes leading off a little bit, but it's pretty much Blanco's job. The guy doing the prices at FanDuel finally woke up. Blanco's 2,800. So say goodbye to the days of the Arizona leadoff hitter being 2,200 on FanDuel. So he's not really popping for me. And I'm really excited about talking about the Blue Jays here in a minute. But right now, this game's kind of a fade for me.
All right, so let's get into it. We have the Blue Jays at a big favorite tomorrow versus the Reds. Very high total, about 9.5. We have J.A. Happ pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays. Throws a 92-mile-per-hour four-seam, 90-mile-per-hour sinker against Asher. I'm gonna butcher this, but Asher Wojciechowski. I really hope that's right, but for a 93-mile-per-hour four-seam fastball and an 81 mile-per-hour slider. We got some big bats in this game, man. We're looking for some runs here. Even though J.A. Happ, he's been pretty decent, but he's been pretty Jekyll and Hyde this year. He's a pretty capable pitcher. But what do you think about this game as a cash game player?
Well, Happ's only had 3 starts, so he's been hurt for a bit. You're right. He started out, his first game of the season was decent, and then his next 2 were not very good. And that could have been due to the injury that sent him down. But he'll come back. He'll likely be on a pitch count. I'm not crazy about playing pitchers in the Rogers Center in Toronto anyway. But yeah, I'm all in on Toronto. Ben and I were chatting before we went on, and we both were very high on Toronto. I know that on my article in RotoCurve, I said that the Blue Jays were my top stack of the night, and Ben said something similar. You said something similar like that on your site too, Ben.
Yeah, Matt Amon, who wrote up the Stacks article, he does Matt Stacks daily. He had the Toronto Blue Jays as the top stack for him, and they put up how many runs? You say like
17.
Jeez. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, this is. Do you like anybody from the other side? Do you like any Cincinnati bats? I mean, Duvall's been really heating up. He had
Duvall has been heating up.
four home runs in his last 4 games, facing a lefty. We know he crushes righties, and it looks like this guy J.A. Happ, he still gets hit. Gave up 9 hits against Milwaukee. He gave up 2 home runs against Milwaukee and Baltimore. So, you're going to see some home runs hit probably, especially in the Rogers Center. So who do you think does it? Suarez, Cozart, Duvall? If you're going to pick one, who do you think is going to homer from this game?
I like Duvall to stay hot. Is Duvall getting hot and Schebler's going ice cold now? Is that what? No, Schebler homered a couple days ago.
He also has he has 2 home runs in his last 3 games. So
he does.
I don't know if you could call it. If that's slowing down, then I want to be him in every aspect.
I want to be slowing down. Yeah. Okay. Did you say lefties or righties? Righties profile better against Happ here.
Let me check it out here. I don't have him here. I'm not really sure. One sec.
Well, Happ is a lefty, so you want to find some left-handed.
This year he's actually gotten. Well, I mean, he only has a couple of innings pitched, but he's gotten hit really hard versus lefties, really hard versus righties. So it looks like he, I mean, even with the small sample size of just this year, he's been getting hit pretty hard. So
he gives it up to everybody. Yeah, I would still say I would look at either Duvall or Cozart. I know has been really putting some bat on the ball. Schebler, Duvall, Cozart.
Patrick Kivleyan play a little bit more. Minimum price at Philadelphia the other day, hit 2 home runs, 4 at bats, and a guy at 2,000 minimum price who can do that for you. I'd love to just see a little bit more of him. Just knowing he has that kind of upside.
What's his name? I do remember hearing this.
Patrick Kivlehen or something like that.
Is he?
He played on the 28th. He played yesterday. Hit 2 home runs.
What position is he on FanDuel then?
He is an outfielder.
And it's Kiv.
Yeah, that guy. But for me, I like Toronto bats a lot, actually. Justin Smoke has been one of the hottest players in all of baseball over the last 2 weeks. I think he hit another home run tonight.
He did.
Batista, we know he could still hit against righties pretty well. He's been high. This whole team.
Tulo had a grand slam.
Tulo had a grand slam also? Wow. Yeah, they just went off tonight. And
Kendrys Morales didn't have any home runs, but he still had 38 FanDuel points because he had 2 doubles, 4 runs.
Yeah, we have we have a situation where this is a team that is very streaky. In the beginning of the year, they were super ice cold. Everyone was picking on them, and now they're all kind of starting to heat up. So I think this is the time that you stay with them. This Vegas total is definitely showing that they should be pretty popular tomorrow, but it's a core slate, so we'll definitely get a lot of ownership there. So favorite 3 or 4 plays from Toronto?
I'm so glad you asked, Ben. I will have Russell Martin. We see Russell Martin do this every single year, right? He's horrendous for the first 2 months, and then he plays like an all-star for the next. So Russell Martin had 47 FanDuel points tonight. He had 3 hits, a home run, a walk, a double, a single. So I'll be playing Russell Martin, Smoke, Tulowitzki, and one of Bautista or Pilar. I will have a full stack on probably all 2 or 3 of my FanDuel teams tomorrow. And I do want some cores too, but I think I want for the Blue Jays are my top team again. And it's gonna suck because they just scored 17 runs, so everyone's gonna be on them. But you're right, there is cores, so that'll pull some ownership. I will have 4 Blue Jays on all my FanDuel teams tomorrow. I can just about guarantee you. And Russell Martin, Justin Smoke, Tulo, and Joey Bats are my 4 favorite.
Awesome. So I think it's safe to say they're your top stack of the day. You're going to commit to having 4 of them right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean the Diamondbacks are going to get jealous here. I'm going to be all about the blue. But I do agree that this Blue Jays team. I don't think this Blue Jays team is in any danger of making the playoffs. I think that they probably dug themselves too big of a hole. Who knows? But I think that this is a team that just loves playing baseball, right? You look at guys like Josh Donaldson, Bautista, Kevin Pillar. This is just an energetic team. They're not going to mail it in.
Let's move on to the Colorado game. Let's hasten this up a little bit. We have Colorado at a favorite. Going to be nice weather, 75 degrees, not too much wind. We have 2 teams with pitchers who are very capable, but we have 2 teams with Vegas totals over 5. Is this a game where you go all in on cores? Do you try to pick your spots? 1 or 2 batters from Colorado or 1 or 2 from Seattle. How do you play cores slates when you have 2 capable pitchers there?
When I have 2 capable pitchers, I am definitely lower than most of the field is. Miranda's been decent. Who's pitching for Colorado?
Tyler Anderson.
Yeah. Tyler, you're looking here. Tyler actually pitches very well at home. And so I will probably not have much Seattle. And I probably won't have a ton of Colorado. So yeah, I'll be way heavy on the Blue Jays and not so heavy on cores.
All right, yeah. For me, it's the same feeling. I know the totals are very high, but I think this is going to be a day where people are definitely on them. There's not many hitters ballparks going tomorrow, so I think people are going to flock to them, especially the Colorado side. But yeah, for me, I definitely think that you have people that are in play, like Nolan Arenado, obviously. If Mark Reynolds plays at 3.8, it's hard to pass up that kind of value. When Miranda, he has let up a home run in each of his last 2 games, and he let up 2 against the Phillies on the 9th. So this guy is capable of giving out home runs. So the way that I would play it personally is I would just try and pick my spots and pick 1 or 2 guys that I'm going to be using and not go full stacks, because that's where a lot of people will be tomorrow. So let's move on to Miami versus Philadelphia. It's going to be playing in Miami, and the temperatures are going to be hot. We have Justin Nicolino versus Vincent Velasquez. We know that people love to play Vincent Velasquez. He has high K upside, but he also has bad control issues. Walks a few people every game, gives up a ton of hits, and there was a stretch in the beginning of the season that he gave up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 home runs in his first 6 games. So this guy he's trash when it comes to keeping the ball in the park. And we have a couple of guys on the Miami side who can really hit it out. Are you interested in anybody as a pitcher or a hitter from this game?
I'm not taking Vincent. I haven't played Vincent Velasquez since like June of last year. He's got the stuff, but I don't know if Philly just needs a better pitching coach or what, but they have not gotten much out of him. And as far as Nicolino, Edson Volquez went into Miami against this Philly team and pitched pretty well against them. Nicolino has shown upside. He went 6 innings and struck out 5, only gave up 1 earned run, put up a pretty nice FanDuel total earlier this year. This Philly team is horrendous. Odubel Herrera strikes out like 6 times a game. So yeah, he did strike out 6. He did strike out 5. You know what they call that, Ben?
Yes, 6 is a lot in a game.
You know what they call it when you strike out 5 times?
That's not golden sombrero, right? That's 4.
Platinum sombrero. Yes, and I can exaggerate sometimes, but Herrera did strike out 5 times a few days ago. So
that's insane.
You got the old platinum sombrero, and there's several guys in this team that strike out a lot. So I would have some interest in Nicolino as an SP2, more so just that Philly is horrendous right now, but not a ton of interest in Vince.
Not for me. I'm not really interested in it, just because he just doesn't seem to have the strikeout upside. He's pitched pretty decently this year. He hasn't been getting hit too hard, but he has a 1.9 WHIP and a 5 ERA with a 5 xFIP. So for me, this game is kind of a glance over, but I could definitely consider using Dietrich. He's been warming up. JT Riddle has been hot, and
I like Riddle.
Yeah, I like some of the Miami guys. You could always go Stanton for power. This guy can hit a home run off anybody. But for me, yeah, I think a Miami mini stack for me is definitely something that I would consider tomorrow, with JT Riddle, Justin Bour, and then maybe like Dietrich or Stanton or something like that. Moving on, we have the Mets at a slight favorite. I'm not sure who's actually pitching for the Mets. I'm seeing a few different things, but the one thing that keeps popping up is Tyler Pill. I'm not really sure who he is.
That's what FanDuel says.
Yeah,
yep.
Everyone says Tyler Pill. I haven't heard of him, but so far he's thrown a 90-mile-per-hour sinker and an 84-mile-per-hour slider. He's only thrown like 19 pitches, but that's what he's been clocked at. I wouldn't really expect much from him. Milwaukee's a team that strikes out a lot. They were super hot earlier in the year. They've kind of faded off a little bit. But going against Zach Davies is someone who gives up home runs, man. Just put it this way, there is only 2 games this year that he didn't let up a home run. And he's let up 2 home runs in a game 2 times in his last 5 games. And he's let up 4, 5, 6, 7 home runs in his last 5 games. So I'm going to be all over the Mets tomorrow. Jay Bruce, Conforto, Duda, maybe even Granderson, Reyes, Cabrera. I'm going to be stacking them every which way possible. Mets are going to be one of my favorite teams tomorrow. It should be pretty good weather. 60, 65 in New York has been pretty decent lately. So what do you think about this game? Do you think there's anyone in play pitching or hitting side for you?
I agree with you on some of the Mets. Duda in particular, his price has come up a little bit on FanDuel, but he's been a nice play, and he's a guy. I like a lot of power hitters. When they hit home runs, they tend to come in bunches. I'm liking this Pill guy a little bit, man. He's one of the Mets' top farm arms. Over between AA and AAA, he has a 1.6 ERA this year. So it's a pretty damn good ERA. I know it's minor leagues, but this Milwaukee team's bad. I believe Ryan Braun is still hurt. Tyler Pill, man, definitely on sites like DraftKings and Fantasy Draft as an SP2, but I don't know. I may even run some lineups with Tyler Pill as my pitcher tomorrow and just load up on hitters.
All right, so one of the things that I've noticed over the course of playing DFS is that when you have a new pitcher who is capable and the batters haven't really seen him, they are very capable to have a good day. Usually it takes a hitter a couple of times to adjust to somebody, and just looking at his numbers, he has a pretty decent K percentage, K per 9 of around 6. Projection. He has a pretty low walk number. I think this is a situation where you could definitely take a prayer on FanDuel for GPPs if you want to just get some big bat stacks in there for you. 5.5 going against Milwaukee, a team that strikes out a lot, especially against righties. There aren't many lefties that could beat you in there. Thames has cooled off a lot. Shaw has cooled off a lot. So yeah, I agree with you. I think Pill is going to be a decent option. The only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is I don't know what kind of potential pitch count or innings count he'll be on, but the Mets bullpen's been awful. So I don't know if we're really looking for too much out of him, but they might want to stretch him a little bit longer just because that bullpen's so bad. So I could definitely be using him.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I know that Tyler, Collins, right? The Mets manager.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Terry
Collins. Terry had said that we're looking to get some innings out of these guys like Gesselman and others who didn't usually start just because that bullpen has been so taxed and they're so beat up with so many injuries. He said if a guy's not giving up a ton of runs, I'll let him hang in there and pitch as long as he can because my arms need a break.
All right, well, moving on to this Texas-Tampa Bay game. It's going to be in Texas, 87 degrees, and it's going to be one of the highest Vegas totals of the day at 10. And, we have 2 pitchers who are just getting torn up. Matt Andriese was pitching pretty well, but he's just not striking people out at the high clip, and he's giving up a lot of home runs. So while on the fantasy side, he's doing pretty well for people, stacking against him has actually been a pretty decent option, especially when you consider that Tampa Bay bullpen is just really, really bad. So looking at this, we have one pitcher in Matt Andriese who's given up 40% hard contact this year, and we have Nick Martinez who has a K percentage of 13 this year. So I think we're going to get a pretty big day out of both of these teams on the batter side. What do you think about this game?
Excuse me. I will have a lot more interest in targeting Rays than I do Texas. Andriese is never really gets blown up. He had a nice outing. I think he only gave up 1 or 2 earned in his last start. Martinez has just been bad. He gives up the long ball. The Rays had a nice game tonight. They obviously, seem to like hitting in that park. Guys like Evan Longoria, Logan Morrison, Colby Rasmus, Tim Beckham has been a real nice source of value on that Rays team. So Rays are going to be one of my favorite teams tomorrow.
Okay. I see. When we're looking at this, I mean, the home run percentage for both these guys is over 15 for the year. Home run to fly ball percentage. Matt Andriese's given up, what is this? 9 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in 9 games, 9 home runs in 9 games, something like that. So while he hasn't been getting blown up, he's been pretty good for fantasy points on pitching and on hitting. So
I believe that's an average of 1 home run a game, if my math is correct.
it's about 1 home run a game. If you could do
about 1 home run a game
divided by 9. I was hoping that we'd have some people with calculators out there doing that for us, but you were on the ball there.
I got your math here, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, so like just without a consideration, somebody like Joey Gallo is in play for me, and Nomar Mazara is in play for me, just because these guys, they hit righties well. It's going to be hot out. They should have potential for a home run. So I like both of those guys, as well as on the other side of the ball, I like Corey Dickerson, and especially Logan Morrison. I think Logan Morrison is going to hit a home run tomorrow. We also have Colby Rasmus, who's been hot, 2 home runs in his last 3 games. I think this is going to be a game for a bunch of little mini stacks. I'm not going to be stacking up Texas with 4 bats. I possibly could with the Rays because I like their lefties. Even Longoria as a righty is heating up.
Dickerson is always a good source of points.
Yeah. Like I said, I like Dickerson, Rasmus. Even Kiermaier has some stolen base upside there. He's been playing really well lately. So, yeah, Rays for me are going to be my top stack of this game. I see some little 2-man stacks from the Rangers with Gallo Mazzara or Mazzaro Chu or something like that. But, that's my take on this game. You want to move on? Or you got anything else to say?
No, I would say that Rays are probably going to be a top 3 or 4 team for me tomorrow. Other than that, I agree with everything you said. Move on.
So we have the Houston Astros going against Minnesota Twins, with the Minnesota Twins being a slight favorite. Jose Barrios, he's came out of the gate pitching pretty well. 6 innings, 7 innings, 7 innings, 7 Ks, 11 Ks, 4 Ks. So he's pitching pretty well. He's been fairly popular. 66 points against the Rockies, 7 innings, 11 Ks. This guy has the upside, and he's facing a Houston team that strikes out at a high clip historically against righties for us, but they've kind of done better this year. So what are your take? Do you think Barrios is a good option for you, or are you on some of the bats in this game?
I have some interest in Barrios. I was looking forward to talking about it with you because I know that I live in Minnesota right now, have on and off for about 6 years, and they love this kid. Obviously, it's been a long time since the Twins have had a premier arm, right? And they're excited about him. And the word from the Barrios camp is that he loves pitching at home. He's a young guy, and like most young guys, you'd rather have your home crowd behind you than 30,000 drunk and possibly racist fans somewhere else screaming terrible things at you for the whole entire game. So they were actually very impressed that he was able to go into Baltimore, and he was just cruising, man, until Chris Davis 2-run homer, and then I think Trumbo went right after him with a solo shot, and Barrios was out of the game.
Well, all right. So in this kind of situation, you have Houston coming off a game where they scored 16 runs. You have the Twins, they coming off a game where they scored 8 runs, and the Twins have been sneaky hot. Like they basically are every season, right? The past 2 or 3 seasons, they've just been sneaky good. And
the Twins?
Yeah, for DFS purposes.
Oh, I thought you okay. The Twins were the worst team in baseball last year, but yeah, they do.
Just think about it. Like, I mean, if you picked Joe Mauer yesterday, like that's not even someone you look for upside, and he had like 30 points.
Yeah.
Think about Grossman, Kepler, even like these guys. They've just been mashing. Whether you even Sano. I mean, Sano's had a great year.
Sano is one of the best pure hitters in all of baseball. Yeah.
They're all guys who give us fantasy goodness, and they're just never really highly owned.
No.
Yeah, they're a great baseball team and they don't have good pitching, but when you're looking for fantasy points, they're just never owned. Like I like Houston a lot. I think they're one of the best offenses that we have in the game right now. As a total top to bottom lineup, we've seen even Gurriel and Bregman have pretty decent seasons. But I probably wouldn't be taking them against Jose Barrios tomorrow. Their prices are pretty high for the studs, so I wouldn't want to be using against him. I'm not really on this game much, but I do think you can use Barrios as a GPP pitcher.
Oh, I think you got to look at Twins, man. Mike Fears is so bad that Houston kicked him out of the rotation. So here's what happened to Fears, and I know we're trying to get this moving along, so I'll try to sum this up quickly. Fears was booted out of the rotation because he was so bad, and they said, we're going to put you in the bullpen and we're going to have Peacock take your spot. And then the next day, Charlie Morton got hurt. So imagine if you're Mike Fears. You were just told you're not good enough to be a starter, and then the next day they came back and said, well, now we need you to be a starter again. That can't be good for your head, right? So
the confidence for sure. Which of the batters on Minnesota would you like to use?
It's not a big vote of confidence at all. So the Twins put up a bunch of runs today. They hit well in their home park. I like Sano. I like Kepler. I really like Robbie Grossman. I'm liking these Twins.
All right, so you like a couple of the guys who would be batting lefty. Would you put Sano or Dozier in that?
Sano and Dozier actually both hit both sides of the plate very well. When you look at their advanced stats, their WOBAs are very similar from both sides of the plate. So,
all right, cool. So, moving on, we have the game of the Sox. We have the Boston Red Sox with Chris Sale in his revenge game against the White Sox. At a heavy favorite, top pitcher on the slate in salary and projection, and they will be facing the White Sox with José Quintana, who is a pitcher with high strikeout upside, but also gets hit like crazy and gives up a ton of walks. We have a pretty decent total for Boston going against Quintana at over 4, but the White Sox, I think they have the lowest implied total on the slate going against Sale. So is this a lock-in Sale and move on kind of play?
Well, it's hard, Ben, because I know we're talking from mostly a FanDuel perspective, and I know you don't love Nick Nicolino, but I still love him a little bit, and then we both hit on that Pill guy. But now I see Sale, who's already an emotional guy, going back to his old team. I think that, and this guy, he just had his streak of double-digit strikeouts broken. So I actually like that for him, because I feel like elite pitchers will have great game, and then not have a great game. I think he bounces back and just crushes here.
He hasn't scored less than 40 FanDuel points at any game this year.
Yep. And he had his worst game of the season for only 41 FanDuel points last game.
The only thing we'd have to worry about really with the White Sox is that, against lefties, they haven't been striking out a ton this year. They're basically all righties on that team and switch hitters. So he's not going to get the benefit of facing a lefty heavy lineup, but we do know he's going to be very popular. Do you think that the upside here is worth it? I know you said you like Nicolino, but for everyone else who's considering Sale, he's been arguably the best pitcher in the league this year, just considering the fact that Kershaw is still a pitcher, even though he hasn't been as good. This guy has just been a force. Do you think that he is worth the fade for people? Do you think that a Nicolino option is a good enough pivot in terms of game theory, or do you think that you should try and take your almost guaranteed 30 points from him? What are you really thinking? Do you think he's a play, or do you think he's almost you have to kind of start?
Well, and I'd like to dig into those advanced stats with you a little bit more. If you're saying that because last time I saw the White Sox, just overall are a pretty horrendous offense and K a ton. But if you say that they K a lot more against righties than they do lefties, then that's something I want to dig into.
Well, yeah, wouldn't that at least be something you would consider, considering they're like an entire righty-based lineup? Like that's kind of what you would expect from them as a team. They're a bunch of righties aren't going to strike out more against lefties because that's, as players, that's why we're picking them, when you have your platoon splits. Look, I'm just going to bring up the splits for the teams here real quick and look at this season. We have the White Sox versus lefties at a 17% and versus righties they are 22.8. So they definitely strike out more against righties. So I mean, Sale, he's not some random lefty that you're throwing out there. He's a top 1 or 2 pitchers in the league, but it just seems to me that maybe that may potentially make his upside more limited. I'm not saying it makes him a fade, but maybe it limits what the potential, maybe he won't get those 11, 12 Ks, but maybe it'll still be around like 8 or 9.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. No, and I understand how platoon splits
score the same amount of upside as he could on the slate.
Yeah. Twitter wants to know why there's a Christmas tree behind you.
That is not a Christmas tree. That's a holiday tree. that has been up. We moved in to this apartment maybe like 3.5 years ago, and my sister put up that tree during Christmas time, and we just never took it down. And for me personally, I like it. Like it's always like a talking point when someone walks in, like, "Why do you still have that up?" I'm like, "It's a holiday tree. Every single holiday we celebrate." So today, that's a Memorial Day tree. So if you were wondering, that's my Memorial Day tree right there. There's all different kinds of stuff on there. So it's a pretty funny decoration that in my house that we just, it's kind of like a homewarming thing, that you just, gives you comfort. And I don't know why. It's just something interesting about my house. But all right, so we have one more game until the late slate. So let's get into that. And then let's approach the late slate as, at least I will. I'll be approaching it as if it's its own personal slate, which I didn't do for the 8 p.m., but I'll do it for the late one because those are the ones I actually play most. But I'll talk about tomorrow more about the individual slates. But
yeah,
you have Verlander going against who is this guy? Skoglund or Miguel Almonte? Who do you have pitching? I have a couple of different.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, man, because it says that Almonte is pitching, but then I got RotoWire chipping in saying Almonte was sent down to AAA today and will not be pitching.
And I also see on a couple different sources Eric Skoglund. So I'm not really sure what we're going to get, but I think it's going to be this guy. And looking at his profile, okay, let's see. Do they even have one for him? They don't even have a profile for this guy, Eric Skoglund. I've never heard of him personally. He's a prospect from KC. He's been in the minors for the last 3 years. He hasn't done anything too impressive. He's had a K percentage around 20 for his minor career. He hasn't given up too many home runs. His control seems pretty good. So I guess it's all just about how long he's going to be in the game. This is an interesting situation just because I haven't really been on Detroit too much lately. I don't know about you. They just haven't really been doing it for me this year, especially as stacks. But I love JD Martinez. He's been hitting off anyone that we see. Basically, and any type of pitcher that you put out there against him, he'll hit a home run. I think people are still sleeping on him. It's crazy because the ownership just isn't really there. But we have Justin Verlander, who's always been kind of an ace in the league, fallen off a little bit. He had a game against the Astros, 5 innings pitched, 9 hits, 6 runs, and 3 homers. He's let up 6 home runs in his last 3 games, but he still has been getting his 6, 7 innings pitched. So knowing that the Royals have struggled so much this year, is Verlander someone that you'd consider an option? Do you like the Detroit bats against this Skoglund guy who's a lefty? You have a lot of platoon matchups there. How are you looking at this game?
Yeah, Detroit's been a fine team to stack, especially lately. JD has been good. Like you said, Upton has been heating up a little bit. Miguel Cabrera has been heating up. Victor Martinez has finally had a few good games lately, so they've been a fine stack. I have a little bit of interest in Verlander. He's literally sandwiched in between Robbie Ray and Severino, who I also have a little bit of interest in. So it'll be interesting to see who of those three do you think gets the most ownership tomorrow?
I think it goes Sale, Verlander, Ray.
I meant between those three that are all priced at basically the exact same price: Ray, Verlander, and Severino.
Oh, sorry, Ray, Verlander, Severino.
They're all within like $100 each
other. I'd probably say Verlander going against KC. Yeah, this is a really tough situation because I think they're all in play, especially when you consider Severino in that grouping as well. Man, I think I'd have to wait to see what other people are talking about, but I guess the best thing I'd say is just me in terms of what I would consider my favorite plays. I guess I would go probably Severino, Verlander, Ray. I think Severino, Ray, Verlander. That's probably Severino, Ray, Verlander. That's how I would do it. I think Severino is a little bit more of a GPP play. I think I can consider Robbie Ray a little bit. Would I even consider him safer?
I'm actually liking Ray more and more the farther that we've gone in this show. Pittsburgh's still not a good team. I know that Kutch is heating up a little bit, but Pittsburgh's still a bad team.
Yeah. All right. So let's just say, would you use anyone specifically? I like JD Martinez. I like Justin Upton. It kind of ends there for me, honestly.
I would throw in Victor Martinez possibly in the.
I would at 3.1K. He's had one double-digit game in his last 10 games.
That was today.
I'm not including today. That was on the 27th. So yeah, he for me, I feel like he's lost his consistent upside that we used to look for. He's kind of turned into like a Carlos Santana with less power. Yeah, so I like Verlander as an option. He's not one of my top options. I like JD Martinez and Justin Upton. I don't like anyone on the KC side.
Okay.
Good. Actually, one person I'd like to add just because he's just been coming up on the top of our sheets lately, and I've been using him just like through an optimized lineup, and he just really, he's been incredible lately. I think nobody even talks about him ever, but Jorge Bonifacio, this guy has been raking lately. He has, 18, 9, 22, 0, 22, 18, 22, 3, 28. Like, he has 4 20-point games in his last 10. Like, this guy has been raking lately. He's been getting a lot of RBIs, a lot of hits, against righties and lefties. So I just want to throw his name out there just because no one ever uses him, and he hits home runs. So
I'm seeing 6 games in his last 12 with 18 or more FanDuel points. It's not too bad.
Yeah, he has a home run in 4 of his last 8. No, 4 of his last 7, 5 of his last 9. So the guy's mashing, I'm telling you. So moving into the last 3 games, this is a short slate for me. This is the end of the night for most of you guys. The way that I look at it is probably different than most people, just because I look at it just as the 3-game package. So for me, there's obviously one standout here and then a couple of random plays, but But going into this game, we have the Atlanta Braves versus Los Angeles Lakers. Bartolo Colon versus, it looks like,
Los Angeles Angels.
Parker Bridwell. There's some random ass guys coming up.
You call them the Lakers, buddy. If they're the Angels.
Did I say Lakers? Good, because I'd rather watch the Lakers play than that team. But looking at the Los Angeles Angels, my bad. You get some random pop from these guys. You're looking from a home run here or there, but the Angels are never a team that really interests me much.
Bartolo's awful though. He's getting progressively. Colon has not been good. He got hit up for 7 runs.
Colon's been getting eaten up this year. Let's see what he hasn't been striking people out over the last year and a half. His swinging strike percentage is down to 5.4, K percentage down to 16%. He just hasn't really been doing it. This year he has an ERA of 7 and an xFIP of 4.79. The guy's just been getting lit up. His BABIP's a little bit high, so he's been getting kind of unlucky, but man, he's just been getting hit hard. He has a higher ERA versus righties than he does against lefties this year, but his fly ball percentage versus lefties is at 46%, getting hit at a 37% hard percentage. So there's lefties against him. You have Luis Valbuena and Cole Calhoun. It puts them potentially in play as one-offs. If you're looking for a home run. I'm not really on this offense, even though Colon's been bad. On the other side, I can see using Inciarte, Markakis, and even Matt Adams. I think Atlanta can make for a decent little mini stack on the late slate, but this game overall is basically a fade for me. What about you?
I'm just a mess right now. I can't find the Angels pitcher.
Parker Bridwell. That's what Fantasy Labs has him listed as.
But he's not even. What is up? Is this like the 5th random pitcher on this slate?
Yeah, and of course it's on a 15-game slate, so it can't make it easy for us.
Let's just run down. So we got Tyler Pill, Asher Wachakowski, who's pitching for Kansas City, or I don't know that whoever's pitching, and then this guy. Man,
there's a lot of randoms, and then we also have someone making a second start in the next game. So in this game, is there anyone who interests you for the all-day slate?
Especially if I was doing the 3 or 4 games, the 3-game slate, right? If I was doing this 3-game slate, Colon's going to give up a bunch of runs, and I don't know much. I'd have to do more research on whoever the hell is pitching for the Angels/Lakers, but I would need more info on this Angels pitcher.
Yeah, I probably won't be on them too much at all tomorrow, even against Bartolo. I'm just not really a fan of the Angels. You have some guys who could pop off. Like I said, you have Cole Calhoun, Luis Valbuena. Trout's hurt now, so he's not going to be anchoring that lineup.
Cameron Maben's been good.
Yeah, Cameron Maben. There's this kid, Nolan Fontana. He's actually my girlfriend's cousin's boyfriend. Wow. His first hit in the majors was a home run the other day. I picked him was it yesterday, I believe. He was one of the top second basemen on our sheet, and he got a walk, stolen base, quick 9 points at 2,000. So I think if he stays at 2,000, he becomes in play, and they may even move him up a little bit in the lineup if they have him in there. So those are some of the guys I played from there, and the Braves I mentioned earlier on the small slate. Looking at the next game is the Cubs, a large favorite against the Padres. You have Eddie Butler pitching against Dinelson Lamet. He had a really nice debut last game with 5 innings pitched.
I played him. He did very well.
Yeah, against the Mets. It's one of those situations, like I said the other day, when a guy's new, he has good stuff, and he's making his first debut, a lot of the times the other team just can't really get a hang of him till it's too late, and by that time he's already getting pulled from the game. So you used him last time against the Mets. Would you consider using him going against the Cubs, who we know is a team that can come alive? but they've been pretty streaky as of late, besides maybe Anthony Rizzo. He's someone who's really been on fire. Ian Happ cooled down. Jason Hayward hasn't been doing too much in the last couple games. He had a really good series versus the Giants. Is there anybody in play for you this game?
Well, I'm not entirely sure what to do with Lamet. It's interesting that FanDuel still has him at 6K, right? I mean, he's had a real good performance. Struck out 8 in only 5 innings and got the win against the Mets. And so definitely not as excited to target him against the Chicago Cubs, but I have some interest. The Cubs aren't the Mets, though, right? We're talking about the reigning World Series champion. I have some interest, I'll say that, since he's still very, very affordable on FanDuel.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be a tough 3-game slate looking at this one. These are 3 games that I probably on any other day would have looked to be avoiding. But Eddie Butler, he's not someone who really scares me away, and he's definitely due for some home run regression. He has 0 home runs so far. He has a 6 Sierra and a 5.10 xFIP. The guy isn't striking anybody out. And I think the Padres are going to be a little bit sneaky on a smaller slate. People usually stay away from them. I'm a big fan of Ryan Schimpf. He's not the best hitter in the world, but he is a great fantasy asset. He's put up 20 or more points in 4 of his last 6 games. The guy just crushes righties, and even at home, I think he's in a good spot. I think you can also consider Solarte as a switch hitter. Eddie Butler isn't someone who I'm really scared scared to face. If I would stay away from the righties, but for the lefties, he's been getting hit at a 46% hard rate, hasn't given up a home run yet, and a 40% line drive rate. So people are going to be hitting him. It's going to be the lefties, and so I like Solarte and Schimpf a little bit. And then I think this is a situation where on the small slate I'll use Dinelson Lamet, however you say it, because I see upside with him. I think this could be a situation where he can get through the Cubs lineup, 5 innings pitched, maybe 6 Ks, or an earned run or 2, and a quality start at 6K. So on a small slate, I would potentially use him, but I would also do a Cubs stack against him as a hedge. So whenever I use a pitcher like that I'm not really too confident in, that's when I'll definitely do a little bit of a hedge stack. So anything from this game interest you, or should we move on?
I'm interested in Schimpf. You know how many home runs Schimpf has this year?
Let me look.
No, I'm asking you. If I was to say over under 11, what would you say?
Do you want? I know it.
Oh, you know. Well, then take the fun out of it. 13 home runs I was surprised to see that. I know he's been hitting a lot of home runs, but 13 is.
How many of them do you think is versus righties?
I know he took Max Scherzer out on Friday. Of his 13 home runs, I don't know,
over
9 or 10.
Or above 7. Over or below 7.
Over.
He has 9 home runs versus righties. It's in another good spot to hit it tomorrow for a guy who has some home runs.
I said 9 or 10, which
9.
Sounded about right.
Yep.
Yeah, he took out in that Max Scherzer gem where he struck out, I think, 13. Schimpf was his lone mistake. Schimpf took him.
That's something that could happen tomorrow as well. Then moving into the last game, we have Gio Gonzalez going to Gio Gonzalez of the Nationals going to Jeff Samardzija of the San Francisco Giants. The Giants are a slight favorite. We have the wind blowing out at 13 miles per hour. It should be a little bit chilly at night, so you're not going to have a great hitter's environment besides the wind. You have Jeff Samardzija facing the Washington Nationals, who I assume Harper's going to be gone, and there'll probably be a few more people not playing tomorrow. But he's their best bat. Murphy's been getting some rest. I think he's hurting or at least just sick. So I do like Samardzija as my top option as a pitcher in that small slate tomorrow, even with the wind blowing out. I'm not really scared of this Washington lineup at the moment, and I think a few of their better batters will not be playing tomorrow. So he should be the chalk, especially in the small slate. Do you have any interest in using him? And then what do you think about Gio Gonzalez as a pretty wild lefty that does have some strikeout upside, but also gives up a ton of home runs and walks? What do you think about this game?
I have a little bit of interest in both these pitchers, Ben, especially if I don't pay all the way up for Sale. I think that Sarmaja, who's only 200 more than Gio, probably has more upside. Did you watch this whole fight? Do you think anyone other than Bryce?
Highlights of it, but I did see Bryce Harper attempt to throw his helmet and land like a 50-cent pitch, like 15 feet to the right.
That was ugly for a guy who's athletic as Bryce. That made him. But then he
punches, man, the real punches. That's what I love.
They each got a real punch in, which was actually fun to see.
There's no way.
I think that everyone else kind of played peacekeeper. I'd be surprised if anyone other than Bryce and obviously that Giants reliever who doesn't really matter are suspended. I could be wrong, but I already have interest in the Shark, Sarmarza, tomorrow in a Bryce Harper-less Nationals offense.
I agree. I think he's going to be my number one pitcher by far for the late slate.
Wow.
What?
No, that's.
And then I mean, on the other side, the Giants.
He's going to be your top pitcher for this small slate or the whole slate?
The small slate.
Oh, okay. That's not as wild. Okay.
Yeah, no, for the small slate by far. I mean, he's going to be the highest price, but it's a situation where I'll be using him. If I run 3 lines, I'll probably go one with him, one with Lamet, and then one with Gio. And then, on the ones that I didn't go Lamet, I'm probably on like the Gio, I would have like my Cub stack. And then I would just, with Samardzija, I would make my little mini stacks around. And then I would have my Lamet team where I use a lot of the higher price players. But it looks like on that slate, there isn't really going to be too much to pick up for. So Samardzija is definitely going to be super chalk.
Check out, and obviously there is much more to fantasy research than just looking at game logs. There's WOBA and XFIB and ISO and all kinds of advanced pitching stats and bullpen numbers. But when you look at Sarmaja's last 5 games, 11 strikeouts, 9 strikeouts, 8 strikeouts, 8 strikeouts, 8 strikeouts. He's been in very good form, and now he's at home.
At least 7 innings in 6 of his last 6 starts, and one of them was 6.2 innings pitched with 8 Ks.
I just saw that. Well, we can go ahead and just round that up. He has gone.
I like him.
Yeah, he's gone 7 or 8 innings with in between 8 or 11 strikeouts in his last 6 games. So you add in that
he probably is my maybe number 1 or number 2 pitcher, depending on how confident I feel in Sale. You know me, I don't really play the main slate much anyway, but if I had to grade him, I mean, especially for the price, you're getting a really nice discount from Sale. Mm-hmm. So Shark is going to be my number 1, number 2 on the whole day. So if you want to get wowed by that again, go feel free.
My lineup, I can make a really nice lineup with Sarmaja. I can't. I don't know how to say it. My mouth can't form it. Samardzija.
He's lower owned as well because it's the last game. It's a late game. People don't usually like to wait for those points. So, I really like it a lot, and I think he's going to be a really fine option tomorrow.
I have a real sexy lineup with four Blue Jays now. So,
all right, guys.
What did you say?
No, I said especially if there's multiple people out for Washington, I like it even more.
Yep.
But.
Did we do better on time, Ben? We're not going to get yelled at by the bosses.
Well, I am the boss, but Jeremy.
I know.
We can go till tomorrow if we want to, but we wanted to go a little bit quicker. We obviously didn't do it as great, but it's something that we're working on.
We're right around an hour, right? Hour and 10.
Hour and 15. But. Guys, thanks for watching. This has been XBenJam X from DailyRotoSharks.com, and we were with Josh at the Chauvin One on Twitter.
Play Blue Jays. Play Jeff Samardzija, make money. I'll see you guys next Monday.
Rotocurve.com and DailyRotoSharks.com and hashtag Sheet Squad. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck tomorrow.